Carlin, coaching in during erotic recess in a body sex circle, there are a few nuances as opposed to regular individual one-on-one client coaching. So I thought it would be good to ask you some questions and talk a little bit more about that. So, first of all, normally we give them at least 15 minutes on their own during erotic recess without help. And then if they need some help, we may, as the leader, will ask them to raise a hand, and then we can go over and provide guidance. So, what happens next? What are the first things that you would say individually to a woman while we're in the circle who needs some help?
So you're gonna wanna have something to, lean on, or like a pillow for yourself, or your Fux pad, or something, because 'cause you're either gonna be on the floor, and I
Mhm.
have had my, like, feet go numb, because if a woman is right in front of an orgasm, it's not like when we're sitting in front of our computer, or we're just in the circle sharing. So, also pay attention to your comfort,
Mm,
because you want to be able to put in the time. So we're pulling alongside, and it's simply like, okay, how is it going? How are you feeling? Right?
mhm,
And then they're either going to say, I feel frustrated. It feels horrible on my clit. I hate the vibe. I don't like this. So you get a better idea of where they are,
mhm.
right? Because you're going to have some women that penetration isn't an issue.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have others that say, I can't get the barbell in. And we had that very often in workshops.
Mhm,
Or I don't really like the oil, or I whatever it is, however it manifests, or I feel like I need to pee.
mhm.
I'd say that all the time. And that's when you say, go to the bathroom,
Right.
pee, come back.
Yeah.
But really, we have to give women permission
Mhm,
to just be comfortable. We're
mhm,
so used to suffering through. Go to the bathroom, come back. How about their water glass? Would you like some water?
mhm.
Being comfortable makes all the difference. And I say this all the time: pleasure is about doing what feels best in every moment.
Ah, yes. So women are going to need some support with that. So really, that's the first step. Make sure, well, you're comfortable and make sure that they are comfortable.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So then how do you begin?
Breathing.
Mm,
I always like to say, and it's simple, let's take some deep breaths together. We're going to breathe in through the nose, fill the lungs, and out the mouth. And we'll do it together. Ready? And do it 3 times,
mm,
because by the time you come over, if they're feeling frustrated, it's because other women are having orgasms. So now they feel like they're the only one, and we want to kind of like ground them, get a little release of the pleasure hormones, and like we're going to take it down.
mhm.
All right. You're always going to encourage them to add more lube. They never use enough oil.
Yes.
So I feel like the first thing, and we really want independence. So it's like you can grab the bottle of oil and then you hand it to them.
Mhm.
Let's put on some more oil. And then they'll always put on too much and go, oh, and then it will trickle down to their buttholes and stuff. All of that feels nice,
Yeah.
right? To have a big something hit your vulva and go down.
Mm,
All right, nice and low, warmed up. If they're using their hand or the vibrator, they can do it with either. I mean, the vibrator is going to be faster because the
right.
vibration stimulates blood flow. Have them do a warm up. What does that
Mhm,
mean? We always go right for the clit. And if a woman's pre-orgasmic, that can be very difficult because
mhm.
it's never fired off. It's either hypersensitive or it's numb. They're feeling everything or nothing,
Mhm.
right? All at once. Start in the inguinal crease, that little area between the inner thigh and the outer labia.
Mhm.
Have them do circles. So say, put in there, how does that feel, either with their hand or the vibrator?
Yeah.
Now do circles, like big circles around it. So they're hitting the top of the pubic mound, the
Mhm.
outer labia. Lately, my outer labia are so sensitive that I've
Mhm.
really started to take my vibrator, which I always had it above on the pubic mound, and go to the side.
Mhm.
So what you want is encouraging them, and you can say, just enjoy the good feelings. Betty said that all
Yeah.
the time.
Mhm.
Have them circle around. Keep them there for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. If they can't penetrate, if they haven't penetrated, if they penetrate, it's fine, right? Maybe have the
Yeah.
vibrator hit the barbell, see how that feels. They love that. It's
Mhm.
like 99% of women, if you go, let the vibrator hit the
Yeah.
barbell, they'll go, oh, I like
Yeah.
that. Anything to get them to connect to a good feeling
Mhm.
before we start the rock and roll,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So if you want to guide them through penetration, it's just like the orgasm with the warm up with their vibrator or their hand. They're going to take the barbell, they're going to go up and down the length of the vulva, circle the vaginal opening. And I'll say that there are a lot of nerve endings, right?
Yes.
We call this playing at the hole, play, play, play. Slowly press in, have everything go slow and
Yes.
get feedback to them. How does that feel?
Mhm.
If we feel pain, I say this all the time, if we feel pain, we stop, we listen to the body.
Yes. Yes. And I think as a coach, we are observing the body. So if there is like a change or you notice something in the body that's a sign of pleasure, like, a movement or, giving feedback, like that looks like it's feeling really good.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they can't verbalize their pleasure. So, again, you reflect back. Like,
Mm.
I can tell, those big circles are getting smaller, getting closer to your clitoris. I think it looks like you're getting more aroused. It looks like that feels good. Even giving feedback, like, I can see your labia is really puffy now. That's a sign of arousal. So they feel like they're making progress.
Exactly. And
Mhm.
I always say we're finding your preference.
Yes.
Everyone's different. And there are so
Mhm.
many erogenous zones on the vulva that we have to play around and
Mhm.
explore. So that's
Mhm.
what we're doing. We're supporting them to explore
Yes.
before the rock and roll. We're not going right into the rock and roll because that can be too much. So
Mhm.
support them. Then at some point, you're going to say, okay, we're ready to do the rock and roll.
Yeah.
So have your hand or your vibe or your hand on or vibe at the same time.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll have the hand on the clit and then the vibe on the outer labia on the side or just above. That's been very successful.
Mhm.
And just to kickstart everything, right? Because we want to get all that erectile tissue filled with blood.
Mhm.
And I'll say, okay, the rock and roll is an organic movement that's natural to you.
Mhm.
Right. So what you're going to see is usually when they move their butt up, they're going to lift their butt off the ground like it's a workout.
Mhm.
Women, we always have to do everything
Yeah.
extra,
Mhm.
right? And we're going to be going fast and we want to slow everything down. So it's like
Mhm.
it's a subtle movement. It can be a circle in the hips, a straight up and down, whatever feels best, a little shimmy, just a little bit of movement and a breath. And we release. Now, if they prefer to switch it up and exhale when they roll up and move their
Mhm.
pelvis, that's fine. All you want to do is keep them breathing. Staying away from it being like some kind of syncopated dance
Mhm.
is actually quite helpful.
Yeah.
So they're moving. And then you say to them, we're not really feeling anything that much right now, but we're building and we know it's coming.
Mhm.
But we're just connecting and feeling and enjoying and breathing. That's it. And breathing with them is helpful. Instead of telling them to
Mhm.
breathe, just breathe.
Right.
If you
Right.
see they're holding their breath, go,
Mhm.
because words put them back in the head.
Right. Right. Right.
So anytime we can limit words,
Mhm.
we're better off.
Right. Right.
At a certain point, I'll say something like, well, we can release some sound because most women aren't going to release any sound.
Mhm.
And really, sounds of pleasure sound like the taking off your shoes at the end of a day. It's a, oh, mm,
Mhm.
mm. And try to get them to make some sound with you, right?
Yeah.
Because that's feedback for the body.
Mhm.
And that's a big point of sexual repression for women that we always have to be quiet.
Yes.
So get them breathing, making sounds, moving, keeping them going.
Right.
At a certain point, my sounds become like cooing for a baby. A woman said that in a workshop. She's like, I was
Mhm.
watching you work, and it was like we're feeding our baby or we're trying to lull our baby to sleep, and we're cooing, we're making little soft sounds like, I'm
Mhm.
here, I'm
Mhm.
supporting you, right?
Mhm.
And then you're going to say, if they Look thirsty. Would you like a sip of water? They can take a break. And saying that, if you feel
Mhm.
like you need a little break and stretch out a leg, if you feel their leg is shaking and they're uncomfortable, stretch out a leg. We can't lose our erection like men.
And I think paying attention to the body lets you know when they need a break. So, I mean, you wanna be quiet and breathe, but when you see something in the body that lets you know, okay, they need more oil, they need a break. It's fine to make those suggestions even though, again, you're kinda putting them back in their head again, but they're probably in their head already. Like, "This isn't working. I'm uncomfortable." Right, but they're not gonna say it. Yeah.
Sometimes taking a break is how we get to the big orgasm.
Right,
We're
right.
we're we're building up, the body's moving, and then tension is building up, and then we're getting tired.
Yes.
So it's like we can always drop back. So just take a moment, breathe,
Mhm,
stretch out, and then I'll say, put your hand down on your vulva, feel it. What do you feel?
mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, it feels plump. Oh,
Right.
that's your arousal.
Mhm.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, it feels nice. Good. You can sit up and look around for a minute. All right, let's go back. Never
Mhm,
let them take more than a minute to 3 minutes of a break because
mhm.
it takes about 10 minutes to drop all the way back, but it's like you want to keep them going, but taking those little moments, it's like going up a staircase and just taking a moment,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then going up some more and then taking a moment.
Mhm.
It kind of feels like that. So keeping them going.
Yes.
You'll see the first orgasm is small. And you can
Mhm,
have your watch. You can even be keeping track of time. 15 minutes in is usually where most women get there on
mhm.
average. Stay in the afterglow. What they'll do is they'll get up, or I always say, just stay there, right? Breathe.
Mhm.
Stay with the body. What are you feeling? I have them say it. Oh, my hands are tingling. Oh,
Yeah.
my face is tingling. Oh, I feel like it was like an electric pulse went through my whole body.
Mhm,
Right. So we want to kind of document
mhm.
their orgasm because every orgasm is different.
Right, right, right.
And that feedback helps them connect to the feeling when they're home, right?
Yes.
It's like all of a sudden, because sometimes they say it feels heat or it feels like electricity or it's all
Mhm.
shaking. Um, so everyone's orgasm feels different. They perceive it differently in the body.
Yes. I think it's helpful too that as you're watching, like at the point of orgasm and afterward when you're debriefing, to share, let them speak first, but then share what you saw. I saw your
Yeah.
legs come together. I saw your skin on your breasts get pink. Different elements that you see. So I think you're always watching. You're
Mhm.
always paying attention. And then it's almost kind of like a gut instinct, I think, based on what you see that informs your support.
They always press their lips together before orgasm. If I had to pick one orgasm tell.
Mhm.
So when you see those things, it's like, and that's when I'm really supportive and really quiet. Once
Mhm.
they start making sounds, I pull back
Yeah.
because I don't want to interfere and them to hear me and you know what I mean and distract. So it's like
Mhm.
supporting and keeping yourself from being a distraction.
Right. Right.
That's why there's no ego in this, right? I'm supporting and then I'm pulling back.
Mhm.
Then after the orgasm, I'll say, stay in the afterglow. And then at some point, I'll say, okay, 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. I'll say, let's go back. Now we're fully aroused.
Mhm.
Now the orgasms are like pearls on a string. And the first orgasm starts in the genitals and then it starts going through the body. Let's
Mhm.
just see how much pleasure we can experience and
Mhm.
have them go back because the full body takes about 28 minutes.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right.
So keeping them there as long as you can,
Okay.
right? Because there is a moment sometimes where they shut down.
Right. 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 When we're in erotic recess, depending on how many others need support, time can be limited. So, I mean, we want them to reach like one orgasm and then, maybe if there's someone else that needs help, move on to them. Like, how much time do you spend with a woman during erotic recess?
I when we did the workshops at Betty's apartment, I would allocate 20 minutes.
Okay.
That said, if I was working with a woman and she was right in front of the orgasm, it's
Right,
really hard to pull away.
right, right.
Um, but there was one workshop where it was I supported 4 women in a row.
Mhm,
And you start with one and then they'll say, "Well, I'm having trouble," and it kind of went down. So I did 20, 20, 20, 20,
right,
right?
right.
And at the end, I was pretty exhausted. And one of them said, "How did you know everything you did was different for each woman?
Yeah. Mhm,
How did you know?"
mhm.
And I felt like Betty, painting the nude, she would look at the body. That's
Yes.
what makes her work so groundbreaking. She would just
Mhm,
look at the body. It's all here.
mhm,
There's no like, oh, this is the technique I use, and every woman likes this. It's not about me.
mhm,
I'm watching the body, seeing what she needs or what she responds to, and
mhm,
supporting accordingly.
mhm.
So the way I worked with each client was different because each client's orgasm was different and their block was different.
Right, right.
So it's something that you learn through just doing,
Yes.
you know? And I think as women, we are nurturers, even if we never have children, it doesn't matter. That skill set is there.
Mhm.
And the fact that we're conditioned to please others, everything you need, you already have.
Right, right. And I wanna say too, it's okay to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I know I did, I still do, because every woman is different. So, that's how I learned, like, don't talk when they're close to the orgasm, because the minute and I was saying something encouraging, I said, "You're almost there," and
Oh,
that
performance
immediately
anxiety.
right. And she probably would have gotten there if I hadn't said it, you know? So I learned, like, that's how I learned. Like, you just once they're on the path, you just don't speak. Yeah, and breathe, you give that kind of encouragement and make sounds. Yeah.
I
So
think it is a case of less is more
yes. Mhm.
because we're teaching self-love and independent orgasm.
Right.
So it's giving permission, breathing, making sounds, keeping them going. If you just get a woman to take her hands and make that connection,
Mhm.
and then get all of that erectile tissue filled up with blood, even if she doesn't reach that orgasm, even
Mhm.
that alone, that sensation, it's like we've lit up that pleasure network.
Right. Right.
And sometimes they can't have the experience in the circle. They can learn the practices and they do it at home. We're guides. So we're
Yes.
going to guide them through an
Right.
experience. And it's like, I'm not here to please the woman, I'm here to contribute.
Right.
So I'm going to contribute knowledge, I'm going to
Mhm.
contribute experience, right?
Mhm.
And then you have the practices. So they have vulva massage and the rock and roll and all the videos. And then the pre work, and then
Mhm.
they're going to do the post work,
Right.
right? So pleasure is a choice,
Yes. Yes.
and it can be scary, and shame is
Right.
it's so deep. So
Mhm.
what we're doing is we're planting seeds.
Yes.
And an erotic recess, what it is I'm earmarking this time, right? We're
Mhm.
keeping them in this circle. I'm feeling all this sex positive energy around me.
Yes.
That is healing.
Right. 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 And I think you can still say positive comments. You've got the right movement. I see arousal. I see you can give a lot of positive feedback if they haven't orgasmed. That positive feedback is what they're going to take away and then take into the post work, and more practicing.
And sometimes everyone gets to the orgasm and it's fantastic,
Right.
right? And sometimes it's just not possible. But just think about that. Um, when have you, like in your partner sex 20s and teens,
Mhm.
did you ever have anyone sit alongside you and guide you and breathe and encourage you
Mhm.
and give you feedback where
Mhm.
you're enough?
Yeah.
Everything's within you. All the things that we're saying, pleasure is doing what feels best in every moment. No, that
Right.
is more mothering than most women ever experience.
Mhm.
So just know we're making a contribution,
Mhm.
right? And you might have some really early success. That happened to me. I really didn't hit blocks to pleasure and penetration until much later.
Mhm.
And it was like, oh, and I got to think about that one.
Mhm.
So you get better every time you support a woman
Yes.
and you learn something and you
Mhm.
grow, and
Mhm.
so do they.
Right. And at the end of the day, it's their orgasm. You can't coach someone and give them an orgasm, right? They have to take it. They have to want it and they have to take it. So at the end of the day, it's up to them.